Alright, welcome back to another Walking Dead trading card set. This is The Walking Dead Season 5, and it has the inserts, like the, hang on, the stack is big as shit. Like, it has the little character inserts and all that stuff. And it's the complete base set and, like, all 100 cards, plus, you know, the inserts. Just look how thick, like, see how thick this damn stack is? Like, to even do this whole thing, I'm gonna go ahead and just tell you, it is going to be a long video. Like, I don't know exactly how long it's gonna be, but there being over 150 cards, it's probably gonna be a good little minute. And honestly, the easiest way I see to do this is just kind of break this in half. Slide this half over here, so we focus on this half first, and then we'll grab the second half. And then actually, hang on, let me see here. Trying to find, so that's 71. See here, which one's that? Number 82. So I know it goes up to 100. 99. 100. Okay, so we'll do it like that. We'll split this damn thing in half to where we have all these. So let's flip them around so they're all in the same damn spot. But we have all the inserts. Then we have this set. So it'll go like this. So then or yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. Let me slide these off to the side, so the camera doesn't fucking focus on them. You know, they focus on this instead of that. But yeah, I have been looking up these cards a good little bit, and I think I figured out how many sets of the Walking Dead cards they do have, and that is season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I didn't see any more after 8, but there is 3. Or is either 3 or 4 little offsets, like the Road to Alexandria, Hunters and Hunted, and the Survival Box. And I think that's it for those. And then there's 2 more sets after that, and that's the comics. You have the comic series 1 and comic series 2. I have series 2 because it's colored, and series 1 is fully black and white. Like, it's straight from the comic pages, and I have got to find that one. I would love to get that entire set. Because soon enough, like, my goal is I'm going to get all the base cards of, you know, all the sets of The Walking Dead. I've gotten a good little bit. You know, I've gotten a couple so far. And I want to get the subsets. And then once I have all the little sets, like the base sets and shit done, I can focus on trying to get some of the autographs or, you know, the inserts and shit like that. But as long as I can get the base cards, I'd be fine with it. Because honestly, I would like to have all of the Walking Dead cards because I do like The Walking Dead. But here we have the first card starting off with season 5 is the Kill Room. If you remember this shit, it was what, Glenn, Rick, was Daryl there? I don't know if Daryl was there. I think Daryl, Bob, wasn't Bob there? Hell, I can't even remember. But I know they were the first guy. He wasn't even a part of the group. He was just some random ass guy that got his head hit and then his throat cut. But fucking, yep, card number 1. Terminus may have been a sanctuary, but now it is a community that lures people in with false hope, only to take their belongings, slaughter them, and eat them. Their cannibalistic intentions become clear when Rick, Daryl, Bob, and Glenn, okay, so that's what it was, yeah, find themselves part of the gruesome lineup and the victims. So yeah, they would have got killed. Like, they would have died unless it was for Carol, and Rick couldn't have done shit about it. I'm gonna be honest with you, they were gonna die. Fucking, but yeah, boom, Terminus. Carol blew that bitch up with a fucking firecracker and a fucking, what you call that shit, a fucking propane tank, yeah. Taking advantage of an exposed propane tank, Carol shakes things up at Terminus in order to release the captured members of the group. And then, yeah, they break down the fences, allowing the oncoming Walker herd to overtake Terminus. Hang on. And then this is Tyrese. Tyrese was in this little shack with Judith because Tyrese and Carol saved Judith and then two sisters. And then, the one sister killed her other sister, and then that just left. Then Carol had to kill her, then that just left Tyrese, Judith, and Carol. And then this is him saying nobody's gotta die because that little guy was doing scouting and shit. Tyrese struggles with the decision to kill people even when they are certain to do him or the group harm. Martin, a termite, he holds captive, threatens baby Judith, and forces Tyrese out of the waiting walkers. But Tyrese's determination to keep Judith safe is stronger than his resolve to do no harm. And he is able to kill the walkers with his bare hands, overtake Martin, and save Judith. And here they are escaping from Terminus. I like the little gray background of these cards. Carol creates chaos by blowing up the propane tank to make rescue from Terminus possible, but in order to escape, the group first must free the remaining survivors in the train cars. Then, here's the reunization. This one's called Reunited, and, Daryl and Carol hug. Rick's like, he nods at Carol and shit. And then, they reunite with Judith, and it's all around nice. After the survivors were forced out of the prison by the governor, they scattered to the surrounding woods. After Rick, Daryl, Michonne, and Carl arrived at Terminus, they quickly realized that some of their group and survivors had been captured by the termites before finding themselves herded into the cattle car. The group was safely reunited with Carol after Carol rescued them. And then here's Rick spraying the shit, says no sanctuary, because they lured people with the train tracks and shit. Which honestly was kind of a smart thing to fucking do, if I'm gonna be honest with you. In the beginning, Terminus welcomed people to the community and helped them survive, but after they were tricked and tortured and had to fight back to win, they devolved into cannibalism for survival. Their new motto became, "You're the butcher or you're the cattle." In the group's escape, Rick changes the sign posted. Then here they are trying to find some water and collect some water. And they're like, we ain't dead. Carol, already having dealt with the death of her daughter, Sophia, was deeply affected by the deaths of Lizzie and Micah, or Micah, however the hell you pronounce that. Daryl was also changing. He has also been changing, where once he seemed to only see the negative situation, now he's finding hope in the group's survival. Then here's old Gabriel, when they first introduced Gabriel. He's calling out for help and shit. Been stuck in the damn church the whole time. The group hears screaming in the woods and finds Gabriel, a preacher, scrambling up some rocks because they think he's a part of Terminus. When asked if he has any weapons, he claims the word of God's all he needs, and he called for help, and help came. While he seems like a man of faith, Rick is immediately suspicious how Gabriel survived all this time and what he may have done to survive. And here they are when they're in that flooded basement, and then that shit was fucking cool as hell. Like that one walker, like the guts like floated out and shit. Gabriel had cleaned out every food source near the church except for the local food bank because walkers had overrun it. What he doesn't tell the group is that many of the walkers were members of his congregation that he turned away on the onset of the apocalypse. Yeah, because he turned everyone away. Like, he was scared to even open the fucking doors because he said that, the food wouldn't last long if everybody's in here. And then, I don't miss that sword. On their way back to the church, Rick asked Michonne about the sword that was taken from her at Terminus. She found it in the early days of the apocalypse and became skilled out of its constant use for survival. While she was able to make it on her own with just a sword, she feels that being with the group and surviving as family is actually living. And then celebration dinner, they're all just chilling in the church, eating and shit, which is nice. It was like a nice little moment. Once they escape for Terminus and they have found a place to rest and some food, the group enjoys a celebration dinner. Abraham tries to convince them to go to DC. Rick and the rest of the group agree, but for the moment it seems there's only plan to survive, but try to save the world. Church art. Yeah, and Glenn's looking at all the church art and shit. Fucking... There are many Bible pages scattered throughout the interior of the church, many of which seem to directly relate to the survivors. Glenn, having assumed the role of the moral compass of the group after Herschel's death, seems to find one very appropriate for himself. It says, and that says, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." And you're correct. Finding Bob. Yeah, they found Bob. After they done cut off his fucking leg, and he's tainted and shit, and fucking that shit was funny as hell. After Bob's disappearance, the group finds him without a leg and discarded by the termites outside of the church. He tells Rick, Sasha, and the rest of the survivors about the cannibals and reveals to devastated Sasha that he had been bitten. Rick immediately begins to formulate a plan to seek revenge. And they do, goddamn. They shoot their damn hands off, they cut them motherfuckers up. Shit was fucking funny as hell, especially in the comics. Gabriel the Damned. Gabriel may be a preacher, but he is not without sin. After the apocalypse began, his entire congregation came to the church and begging to be let in to escape the walkers. In fear, he kept the doors locked and listened as entire families were eaten alive. And they fucking put you a burn for this, and they put all sort of shit on that damn church just to punish him. And then here's Abraham. He's protective, is what this card's called. Abraham has been on a mission to get Eugene to Washington, D.C. because Eugene has convinced him that he has the ability to save the world. Once it is obvious the Terminus group is coming to finish him off, he panics at the thought of losing what might be the world's only chance to survive and wants to get Eugene to Washington. After some convincing by Glenn, he decides to stay and help the group if they fight if they promise to join him on their journey to Washington. And that he left that, they end up leaving his shit, and he left that whole little fucking map and shit that says, I'll be seeing you in the new world, Rick Grimes and shit. But, he wrote it in such a way where it could be, Rick left a message. So Morgan picks that shit up, and he's like, oh, Rick Grimes, you say? Fucking don't mind if I do. No point in begging. Yeah, this is where they cut them motherfuckers up. Rick comes up with a plan to trick the Terminus survivors who are hunting them. They leave to make it seem like only the weakest members of the group are in the church, but quickly surprised and overwhelmed once they break in. Gareth, knowing death is imminent, is curious as to why Rick's group didn't immediately shoot them, to which Rick replies he didn't want to waste the bullets. Which he didn't. They cut them motherfuckers up. Promises kept, because he said he'd kill him with that red machete. Back in the kill room, Gareth had asked Rick what was the bag he had buried in the woods. Rick listed off all different weapons, and then the red-handed machete, which he promised to kill Gareth with. Yeah, that whole fucking red machete had a whole fucking backstory, which was fucking wild. In the little, them little segments they did and shit, that red machete went through so much shit. Saying goodbye, she's crying and shit because Bob's about to die and shit. Tyrese, recently having lost Karen, understands what his sister Sasha is going through, losing Bob. He encourages her to take the opportunity that he didn't have with Karen to say goodbye. Once Bob dies from his walker bite, Tyrese takes the knife from Sasha, and after she leaves the room, puts the knife into Bob's temple so he doesn't come back. And then it's discovered that Beth is alive, and she just got kidnapped and shit. But she's chilling in the damn room and shit because she just woke up from a little mini coma almost. After being kidnapped, after escaping the funeral home overrun by walkers, Beth wakes up to find herself in a hospital bed with a bandaged wrist at Grady Memorial Hospital. She bangs on the door asking for help, but ready to defend herself when Officer Don Lerner and Dr. Stephen Edwards come to calm her down. Don explains that she found her on the road, and they have helped her in a menacing tone. So she also says, "This means you owe us." And then we're not trapped. It's because Noah has a plan to get the fuck up out of here. Noah was one of my favorite characters. Beth makes an ally in Noah, who has been in the hospital for about a year and also chained to his debt. He was injured with his father, and they claim that they can only rescue one of them, but Noah knows now that they saved him because he was the weaker of the two. He has a plan to try and leave. And then here is Beth rising above. And then, Beth and Dr. Stevens, the doctor at the Memorial Hospital, discuss the painting that is in his office. While she is able to accept its beauty, he claims art has no place in the world anymore because it is not about survival. Yeah, it is not about survival, but about transcendence and being more than animals. And then here she is searching for the key so she can get the fuck up out of there. Beth searches Don's office for a spare key to the elevator shaft so she and Noah can escape. She finds the key, but also finds the body of another rescued patient, Joanne, who has committed suicide to free herself from the hospital. Gorman finds Beth and says he'll keep quiet if she cooperates, but she smashes him with a lollipop jar and a freshly attacked Joan. Yeah, that Walker attacks him and shit. Fuck yeah. Yeah, now they're going down, so they're about to slide on out and shit. The only way for Noah and Beth to escape the hospital is down the elevator shaft, making a distraction of Norman being attacked by Joanne. They make a break for it and climb down using a rope made of tiles. Once Beth is on the landing, Noah begins his ascent, but is grabbed by a walker through the partially open elevator doors and falls on the pile of bodies below. And here they both are outside, and she's shooting a gun. Having escaped, Noah and Beth must fight their way through the walkers that surround the hospital before they can completely free. Beth takes on fighting the walkers so Noah, who is slower with his injured leg, can reach the gate. Before she can join him, she is tackled by Officer O'Donnell, but smiles upon seeing Noah. She smiles that he escaped, which is pretty cool, because hell, he's the one that lets them know that she's alive and shit, and they roll back up on that shit. Bus crash, and this is where Eugene fucking... What was it he put in the gas tank? He put something in the gas tank and it caused a fucking bus to goddamn set on fire and blow the fuck up. Fucking, well, it didn't really it blew up because they crashed it, but they crashed it because it set on fire. Bus crash. On the way to Washington, the church bus engine blows and the bus flips just as they pass a group of walkers. Tara encourages Eugene to just be brave, that he is terrified to move. However, when a walker attacks Tara, he finally finds his courage and is able to step in and save her. Eugene is hopeful they will go back to the church and join up with the others, but Abraham is insistent that they keep going. Yeah, Abraham wants to get the fuck up out of there. Don't try to find us. Yeah, now this is Abraham's depressing ass backstory. His backstory is even fucking worse in the comics. Like, I felt bad for the man, honestly. Like, I explained that shit in the other trading card video with the comics and shit. Like, his backstory is fucked. Like, once you realize his backstory and shit, because he was gonna kill himself. Like, he wanted to fucking die. And, for Eugene to come along and say, yeah, I know the cure and shit, fucking, I just need help getting there. Like, Abraham made it his sole fucking mission to get Eugene to DC because he thought there was a chance that it could be stopped. But fucking, it's fucked. In a flashback from the show made it look a little bit less worse than what his backstory is. Because, they couldn't fully put everything that happened and shit. Like, they couldn't make that a thing because then it would have been a very rated scene, And fucking, yeah. In the flashback from the early days of the apocalypse, Abraham is seen beating a man to death with a can in a grocery store where he and his family were living. His wife and children are shocked at the depth of his violence and terrified of Abraham. In spite of the obvious threat, the next morning, Abraham awakens to find them gone. And then here is Abraham hunting them down. Panicked at finding that his family has left him, Abraham rushes to look for them, but quickly learns that they didn't make it far before they were attacked and killed by walkers. Overcome with grief, Abraham kneels next to his family, ready to commit suicide, but before he could pull the trigger, he hears a cry for help. But see, that makes it sound like it's not bad. Like that, his family left him in the middle of the night, and they got eaten by walkers like maybe 10 feet away, right? So that's not the worst. I mean, it's pretty bad, but not the worst. But in the fucking comics, like, it's fucked. Like, they kill his fucking son, and like, he's with a group of people, and like, he doesn't like people and shit. Like, he doesn't like groups and shit. But he's with a group of people and shit, and they fucking, I forgot. Yeah, it's like he goes on like a supply mission or some shit with some, like, a few people. But like a couple of people stay behind, and they fucking, they do stuff to his wife and daughter and shit. Kill his son. They killed his wife and daughter, and like, he finds them and shit, and it's fucked. It's a very fucked up scene. So they really couldn't put that in the fucking show at all. But a very important mission. Here we go. After the death of his family, Abraham feels completely hopeless and sees no reason to live. Just as he is about to take his own life, he hears Eugene's cries for help. Abraham easily kills the 3 walkers attacking Eugene and starts to walk away. A terrified Eugene, able to defend himself, sees how strong Abraham is and tells him he can't leave him because he's on a very important mission. hosed. So yeah, this is where they get fucking hosed by the fucking water and shit. Abraham was excited to have found a fire truck for transportation, but it only moves a few feet before stopping because the air intake is clogged with walker guts. Moving the fire truck reveals a door that releases a group of walkers who attack. A quick thinking Eugene gets on top of the truck and uses the powerful fire hose to shred them, scattering walker parts all over the sidewalk. Yeah, Eugene just like lit them up with water. And then yeah, looking for Beth. And then I think this is where they come across Noah. Like he's like somewhere around here. After seeing a car with the white cross, yeah, this is where Carol gets kidnapped too. But after seeing a car with a white cross look like the one that took Beth, Daryl and Carol follow into Atlanta to try to find her. They spend the night in an abandoned woman's shelter that Carol had once come to in order to escape her abusive husband before the apocalypse. The next day, they begin searching in Atlanta for signs of Beth, while trying to avoid herds of walkers that inhabit the city. So indoor camping. So it's, Daryl. But yes, yeah, here's Noah. They meet Noah. On their hunt for Beth, Daryl and Carol seek out a high risk to get a better view of the city to look for clues. In the skyway between two buildings, they find what looks like a makeshift camp of survivors that is now filled with walkers. Daryl remarks, "Some days I don't know what the hell to think." Yep, which is fucked up. And then here's Noah with a gun. And just, you look tough. I forgot if they actually just all became kind of friends and shit, or oh yeah, here it is. After following them undetected for some time, Noah grabs Carol's rifle when she is preparing to squeeze through a small opening in the chain doors. Noah doesn't mean Carol and Daryl any harm, but he simply needs weapons to get out of Atlanta and away from the hospital. Noah apologizes as he releases walkers trapped in zipped tents on the skywalk so he can escape. Yeah, because he thought they were going to fucking kill him and shit. Yeah, finding the cross. On their hunt for Beth, Carol and Daryl spot a van with a white cross on the window, precautiously teetering off the side of the overpass. They move on to investigate, but they are attacked by walkers. Once they are exhausted their ammunition, they have no choice but to strap in and take terrifying ride over the side of the bridge. And then mutual friend, yeah, because then he learned about that they wanted to save Beth and shit. Daryl and Carol find Noah struggling with the walkers, or surviving with walkers. Even though he had taken their weapons after they help him, Noah panics that the officers will have heard the shots fired. Daryl asks him if Beth was there, and Noah tells him that she was the one who helped him escape. They team up to avoid capture and to rescue their mutual friend. Once they found out that he was from the hospital, because he started getting scared and shit, that they would come back, they realized, Daryl's like hospital, because he remembers seeing the fucking word hospital or whatever. And fucking, once they realized Beth was alive and shit, like, they were going back for that shit. But yeah, Carol takes a hit. Yeah, fucking Noah and Carol and Daryl are trying to avoid capture when Noah falls. Daryl stops to help him, but Carol continues to run outside where she is hit by the car that the hospital security team is driving. Daryl's instinct is to go to her, but Noah insists that they let people at the hospital hear her. Yeah, because otherwise they'd have fucking killed him or some shit. Barricading the church. Daryl barricades the church. Daryl, Tyrese, and Sasha use organ pipes in an effort to barricade the church. Daryl is concerned for Sasha, who is grieving the loss of Bob, and asks Tyrese if she's okay. Tyrese assures him that she is not. Meanwhile, Gabriel, distraught from seeing his church being torn apart, wonders if they plan on using the cross too. Ignoring his distress, Daryl says that they need it. That shit was funny as hell. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That shit was funny as hell. But yeah, back soon. This is when they tricked the Terminus people, wasn't it? Or yeah, I think this is when they tricked the Terminus people. No. Hell, they've already killed the Terminus people. So this is when they're all going to go get Beth, and they watch her die and shit. And I was thinking this was when they went to trick the Terminus people, but it wasn't. They hell because they've already done killed them. Rick, Daryl, Noah, Sasha, and Tyrese leave for Atlanta to rescue Beth and Carol from the hospital. Michonne offers to go in Rick's place so that he can stay with his family. Rick had made the decision to kick Carol out of the prison for killing Karen and David, only for her to turn around and rescue them from Terminus. He knows he owes her more than anyone else. That is true. He did kick her right the fuck out too. Fucking making a plan, even though he had said fucking he had that rule: if you kill, you kill. Yeah, if you kill, you get killed or some shit, or you will be killed or whatever. But fucking, he couldn't do it to Carol. He just said, yeah, keep it quiet and just leave. But the group tries to develop a plan to rescue Beth and Carol. Rick suggests they sneak in and attack the force to overwhelm the officers better. Tyrese thinks There is a way that would not involve killing anyone. He suggests kidnapping two of the officers when they are out on patrol, using them in exchange. After Daryl agrees, they decide to give Teresa's plan a shot. And then, they approach with caution. Yeah, they shoot up their fucking car and all sort of shit. 3 officers from the hospital ride out in an evacuation zone after they elude being captured by Rick and the group. Rick, Daryl, and the group search for the armed officers, but they must be careful because the area is all more threatening by walkers that have melted onto the pavement. And then Gabriel listens intently. As Gabriel is trying to desperately remove the bloodstains from his church floor, Carl lays several weapons around him and tells him to pick one. Carl knows Gabriel needs to know how to defend himself and offers to teach him. After a brief debate over whether it had been necessary to kill the terminus group, Gabriel chooses the machete but becomes anxious at the idea of having to use it. And then, hostages. They had just, they captured him and shit and fucking... Using Noah as bait, Rick and his crew trap officers Shepard and Lamson. The plan to kidnap them and exchange them for Beth is going smoothly until a third officer races into the scene and rescues them. Sasha shoots out a tire, preventing their escape. After a chase through the bombed evacuation zone and a close call with Daryl with the melted walker, they seize all 3 officers. Rethinking the plan. Hell, they start rethinking, should they be doing this shit? After Lamson tricks Sasha and almost escape, the group has to decide whether to continue with the plan or make for an even exchange or try another more violent method of rescuing Beth and Carol. And let's see, now we have Mary's Bible. Gabriel's reading the Bible and shit. After fleeing the church, Gabriel goes to the elementary school where Gareth and the other termite residents had made camp. Desperate to see himself what happened to Bob, he finds a Bible that remained of Bob's, and what remained of Bob's cut leg on a fire pit. Enraged, he screams and tosses over the pit just as walkers that had been trapped finally burst through the glass doors in the school and chase him back to the church. Walkers take over the church. He's like fucking scared and screaming and shit. Gabriel doesn't make it far before fleeing to return to the safety of the barricaded church. Surrounded by walkers, Gabriel begs for Michonne and Carl to let him back in, unaware that he was even missing. Michonne uses her axe to chop through the wood they had used to secure the door and let him in, just before the walkers made their way through the organ pipe barricade to reach him. Making it out. Now he has the machete and shit, and he's still scared to use it. Realizing he put Michonne, Carl, and Jude in danger, Gabriel holds the door from the attack and walks until they all safely through the hole in the floor and out the church. Michonne pauses, wanting to help, but he tells her he's not going anywhere until she leaves safely. With the help of his new machete, Gabriel manages to escape, and they work together to secure the horde inside. Exchange. Now they're, fucking exchanging and shit. The tense prisoner exchange seems to be working fine until Don demands Noah stay as well. Beth takes the opportunity to exact revenge on Don, but Don quickly reacts, killing Beth. Daryl shoots Don in retaliation. The remaining staff and officers at the hospital in the group, the chance to stay, indicating that Don was a problem that had been just solved. Rick refuses and instead invites any of the people who want to leave to go with them. Because they wanted Rick to stay and shit, like his group to stay because they needed people or whatever. But they fucking... This scene was so fucked up too, because Abraham and Eugene and all of them, after he had told them that he didn't know what the fuck, like he couldn't do it, right? There was no cure or whatever. Fucking, they come back to the church, and Michonne and Carl, they're all happy to see Maggie and Glenn and shit again, and they tell her that Beth is alive, that Daryl, Rick, and all of them went to the place where they're at, and that they're getting Beth back. So they all roll the fuck up, only to see Daryl carrying Beth's dead ass body out. And there's her reaction. After Don shoots Beth, a stunned and saddened Daryl immediately pulls his gun and kills Don. As they leave the hospital, the sorrow at the death of Beth is written in Rick's face as he shakes his head in dismay to Glenn and the others who had arrived to help. The normally resistant Daryl is heartbroken, and he carries out the lifeless body of his dear friend. And then, here's Maggie's grief, because now she has lost her entire family except for Glenn. Maggie had not seen her sister Beth since the governor stormed the prison. The day their father was murdered in front of them. When she arrives back at church, Michonne tells her that the others have gone to rescue Beth. Elated to learn her sister is still alive, Maggie and the others rush to the hospital, only to find Beth is dead. Which was fucked up. Like, that shit was, like, it was sad as fuck to see that shit, because she was so damn happy that Beth was alive, which is understandable, because that's her sister. But fucking, only for her sister to be dead, you know? But overrun. Yeah, this is that weird shit where, like, the second half of the season started and shit, and it does this weird little thing where you think they're burying Beth's body the whole fucking time they're burying Tyrese, because he gets fucking bit or some shit, and they have to fucking, kill him and shit before he fucking turns and shit, and fucking, it was a whole weird ass episode, honestly. But fucking, Noah tells Rip before Beth's death they plan to escape and get the neighborhood where his family was living. It was secure when Noah left, and he convinces Rick, who was looking for the next destination, to go. When they arrive, Noah is shocked to see the walls have been breached. He races to his home to find that his family has been killed. And then here is Tyrese. He had just gotten bitten. Poor man. While trying to console Noah, who was grieving over the loss of his mother, Tyrese hears a noise coming from behind in the house. He finds pictures of Noah's twin brothers on the wall, becomes distracted and didn't notice one of the boys, now a walker, coming for him. He is bitten, and Noah has to kill his walker brother before going to get the others for help. Yeah, that was also fucked up too. Hell, fucking. But that's The Walking Dead for you. It's like, hell, even the creator, he even said it. Fucking, it ain't a story it's not a happy story. Fucking anyone reading it or watching it thinking that, you're wrong. But making it. Michonne is desperate to find a safe place for the group to create a community. After having to fight to stay alive every day, she knows they can need it more than that just to survive. She tries to convince Rick that they can rebuild the community, but after finding the dislocated yet dissected limbs scattered outside the wall, she persuades them to continue on to Washington, where they might have a chance of living, like a chance to live instead of just surviving, because they come to the conclusion that since Eugene did say DC, maybe there was some logic to it, But parts. As they flee with a dying Tyrese, the group's car gets stuck in the mud. Then lurches forward in a crash into a truck. What spills out are the chopping torsos of the victims from the community, all of the W carved into the foreheads, which is a foreshadowing of the wolves that are later to come. The way it had to. After Tyrese is bitten, he has a series of hallucinations of friends and enemies he has encountered. Martin claims he could have prevented this, but Bob reminds him that it went the way it had to, and the way it was always going to. While Lizzie, Micah, and Beth assure him that it's okay and better now, Glenn and the others are trying to get him back to the rest of the group before he finally lets go. And then gone. So they stopped. They had to kill him. And then it's revealed that they were burying him and shit. But as part of the ongoing hallucination, Tyrese hears the radio like he did when he was a boy. His father had insisted that they pay attention to the things happening in the world, but now instead of listening, he asks them to turn it off and sees the smiling faces of their friends as he passes away. Yep. That's so damn sad, because Tyrese was he's one of my favorite fucking characters. And fucking just for him to be like dead and shit, it kind of fucking sucks. But fuck it, they killed Carl, so what the fuck else? What else do I expect? But yeah, see, this whole little scene, they were constantly, like, they were having a funeral shit, and everyone assumed, like, watching it the way they set it up, you assumed it was Beth's. Like, you assumed they were digging the hole for Beth, and they were just now burying her and shit, and they were doing this and that, and burying her. But then you find out the whole fucking episode was Tyrese, and they were burying Tyrese because he starts hallucinating and shit, and fucking later on you find, he dies and shit. So then it cuts back to this shit, and you realize, in fact, it was not Beth, but it was Tyrese that was getting buried. But yeah, funeral. Gabriel leads the funeral service by reciting quotes from the Bible. Sasha is shot by the loss of her brother, especially so close to the death of Bob. She is unable to bury him, so Rick takes on the task of burying yet another friend. His knit hat rests on the cross as a mark for his grave, which is sad. kidnapped Walker. I forgot what the hell that was. Always searching for supplies, Maggie opens the trunk of an abandoned car and finds a blonde woman who died, who was left bound and gagged. Seeing her struggle emotionally with the gruesome discovery, Glenn comes to help. Once he realizes the kidnapped Walker is a painful reminder to his wife of her now dead sister, he kills the Walker for her. Oh, and here's this thing. Sasha shoots every one of them damn dogs, and they eat them fucking things. Because they're like wild dogs and shit. It seems things can't get any worse, but while taking a break on the side of the road, a pack of wild and vicious dogs quickly sets upon the group, starving and snarling, and are ready to attack. While the others prepare themselves for a fight, Sasha quickly takes down the mad dogs, which started as a threat becomes a life-saving meal. No dogs were hurt in the making of this episode. Okay? Fuck yeah, and that's the only thing I could think of. Because didn't somebody ask that on like the Talking Dead or some shit? They were like, did y'all really eat the dogs? And they were like, no dogs are hurt. That shit's fucking funny as hell, but fucking... Or no, was it? No. I don't know if it was the Talking Dead or someone asked that like at one of them little live events they do at the Comic-Cons and shit. But fucking... I remember someone asking, did they actually eat the dogs? And fucking... They were like, no, bro. No dogs are hurt in the making of this video. Battling exhaustion. After 3 weeks on the road with no supplies or vehicles, the group is exhausted. A small horde of walkers follows, but they do not have the strength to fight them. The group decides to use a bridge and confront the oncoming walkers. The plan is working until a grieving and absent-minded Sasha tries to take on more than she can handle and almost gets herself and others killed. And then, yeah, now they're really feeling it, Mr. Krabs. Damn, Daryl looks so fucked in that. But yeah, the rain and shit. Through dehydration and exhaustion, Daryl has been struggling with the death of Beth. Carol acknowledges that Beth saved both their lives and encourages him that even though he can't let her go, he needs to feel the pain in order to release it. He goes off on his own under the guise of finding water. While lighting a cigarette, he intentionally burns it into his hand to release the pain and finally allows himself to break down. And then, praise the rain, because this is where they find the bottles of water that Aaron and them set out for Alexandria, because they want to bring Brick's group to Alexandria. But they've been watching them at a distance and shit. And, Eugene was going to drink the shit. He didn't give a fuck. Abraham smacks it out of his fucking hand. He's like, bro, no, we're not drinking that shit. So Rick says, dump all the water out and fill that shit up with water, like from the rain and shit. Having run out of water long ago, the group is confused to find a stash of water bottles on the road with a note saying, from a friend. Untrusting of anyone at this point, they are all concerned that it might be a trap. But Eugene volunteers to dry it out. Abraham slaps the bottle out of his hand, and miraculously a storm of rain comes like a gift from above on the dehydrated survivors. Because goddamn, Eugene was going to drink that shit. He didn't even care. But we are the Walking Dead. Classic line. they did it. They said the thing. they did the thing. You remember that stupid shit in Family Guy where they say the name of the movie in the movie? But while taking cover in the barn, Rick tells the story of his grandpa during World War II. He says his grandpa knew he was dead whenever he stepped into enemy territory. He would wake up every night and tell himself, rest in peace, and I'd get up and go to war. And that after a few years he made it out alive. Rick believes now how they survive is to tell ourselves that we are the Walking Dead. And then attack on the barn. So a bunch of walkers attack the barn and shit. The group felt lucky to find shelter from the storm in the barn. All but Daryl are asleep when he hears more than just a storm outside. A herd of walkers has discovered the hideout and tries to force their way in. One by one, the others awaken to help hold out the dead. The violent rainstorm outside intensifies with tornado force winds. Yet another miracle saves the group from death. People like us. Yeah, like it knocks like trees down and all that shit. But Glenn tells Michonne that he believes that strangers who cross their path should be shot. Because if it's someone like us, we should be afraid of them. He questions why Aaron would consider inviting them to Alexandria after watching their group from afar. Michonne reminds him that they are a group that helps people. One that saved a priest and a crazy lady with a sword. And that is true. They did save both. Finally, the RV. Aaron brings them to the RV and finds that damage from the storm is blocking its path. They board the RV to search it for threats. They don't find anyone waiting to attack them, and Abraham is elated to find a stash of sketty rings. They take the RV back to the barn and decide as a group whether or not to trust Aaron and bring him to the community. And then roads not cleared. Roads are not cleared. Aaron had warned Rick that certain roads had been cleared leading back to Alexandria, but Rick, still distrustful of anyone, now insisted they take a different path. A large group of walkers is waiting on the uncleared road, and Glenn tries to drive through them. Their scattered parts clog the air filters, and the car stalls, forcing them to abandon it and go through the woods on foot. All because Rick didn't want to trust nobody, which, I mean, that's understandable. Because at this point, you've done come across a handful of fucking groups, and one by one, they have fucking attacked you, and now you've become the very thing that they were. And fucking, like, you know, you can't see that because you don't see it's a problem. But, like, you know, it's kind of a problem when you're starting to put the lives of your people in danger. But a flare to the face. Yeah, he put that motherfucker, like, shit in his face. Yeah, under attack by a horde of walkers on the road to Alexandria, Rick and Michonne are separated from Glenn and Aaron. While looking for Glenn and trying to defend himself against the attacking walkers, Rick runs out of ammo and pulls out the flare gun he had taken from Aaron at the barn. He shoots a walker directly in the face, making a gruesome but spectacular walker light show. But, yeah, and there they are walking away from the flare. The red lights. The group is forced to enter the dark woods, illuminated only by the bloody lights of the car. After their vehicle stalls, Glenn and Aaron come to rescue Rick and Michonne, who find themselves surrounded by walkers and out of ammunition as they hurry to find the rest of the group. The gates of Alexandria. They now have pulled up to the gates. Carl, Judith, Michonne, and Rick are all in the same car. And then Rick is understandably suspicious of joining a new community. He reminds Michonne that they came upon the walls of both Woodbury and Terminus. They only heard silence. He's not certain that it would take to trust enough to bring his family inside Alexandria. As they approach the gates, a reassured Rick hears the laughter of children from the other side of the wall. But didn't Woodbury have children, though? I mean, but who's Deanna or Diana? Where the fuck her name was, though? As the gates close and the group is let inside Alexandria, Nicholas tells them that if they want to stay, they must hand over their weapons. Rick claims that if they wanted to use them, they would have started already. Aaron assures Nicholas it's okay and tells Rick that they will be able to have any questions answered by Diana before they decide if they want to stay. Because he knew that they don't trust shit. But curb appeal. Yeah, these are some nice-ass houses, by the way. But after Rick and the group do a series of videotaped interviews with Diana, they decided to give Alexandria a try. Aaron shows Rick and Carl the houses they can choose from and tells them to feel free to look around and get comfortable. They are comfortable with the way the community seems to have been untouched by the apocalypse. And then, yeah, this scene kind of sucked because they took Rick's beard away. His beard was fucking awesome, man. Like, season 5 Rick before he shaves and shit was badass. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I like that Rick a lot. But a shower and a shave, so he shaves and I think he gets his hair cut eventually and shit. But fucking a benefit of living in Alexandria is running water, which the group has not had access to since the beginning of the apocalypse. They also haven't been around any personal hygiene supplies or even mirrors. Once Rick gets a glimpse of his long, unkempt beard, he decides it's time to let go and treats himself to a long overdue shave. A new friend, Jesse, provides a fresh haircut. And then a new home. So this is them with their, exploring the house and shit. As Rick and Carl explore their new living quarters, they might as well be discovering a new world. A clean house with running water is something they haven't seen in a long time. To Diana's surprise, the group decides to stay together in one dwelling for safety instead of multiple houses they were offered. Until the next day, because then they realized they weren't going to be attacked or nothing. But fucking, while they thought they were like, fuck this, we're going to stay in the same house. But the suspicious husband, this is Pete, Jesse's husband. Soon after they arrive, Rick is on patrol one evening when he hears a brooding voice with a darkened porch. It is Pete Anderson, Jesse's husband and father to Sam, as well as a surgeon in the community. His distaste for Rick seems evident as he sarcastically greets him with, My wife cut your hair. Welcome to Alexandria. Then he goes back to smoking his cigarettes. Pete's a fucking asshole, and I'm glad he got fucking killed. But, missing stash. Yeah, assuming their weapons would be taken once they entered the gates of Alexandria, Rich stopped on a way to hide a gun in a pile of trash in an abandoned house. Once they are assigned jobs, they successfully blend in. Rick goes out while he is on patrol to retrieve the gun. He discovered that someone had beaten him to it, making him distrust the safety of the community even more. Failing to realize that it was, fuck, who took the gun? It was Michonne, I think, wasn't it? Or, fuck, I can't remember. It was one of his people that took the fucking gun. Sasha struggles to adjust to life in Alexandria, staring at the smiling faces and picture frames around the home they are living in. She checks a gun out of the armory, gathers up the frames, and uses them for target practice. While she is still mourning the death of Bob and Tyrese, she is also afraid of forgetting how to survive should the sincerity of the community come to an end. Which is smart, in all honesty. And then this one's Try. Carol, Daryl, and Rick go to the woods under the guise of taking Carol's shooting. They discuss how to retrieve the weapons from the poorly guarded armory. They decide that they want the others in their group to try to fit in and not tell them the plan. Carol has taken the role of the meek housewife to make community feel she isn't a threat, and encourages Daryl to try to blend in as well. Michonne hangs up her sword, which is the mistake because this is what Pete uses to kill Diana's husband. Which is some fucked shit. Michonne's katana has been her constant companion since the beginning of the apocalypse. It may have been taken from her a few times along the way, but has always managed to find its way back into her skilled hands. As she decides to try to settle in Alexandria, she mounts the sword above the mantle, signifying that she is hopeful she can relax and live without her constant companion. I guess like they all were struggling to, get adjusted and shit. But this is Buttons the horse, and then they were surprised that Daryl was able to, tame the horse and shit. Aaron runs into Daryl wandering the woods, and they decide to hunt together. They run across a horse, and Aaron says he's been trying to catch the animal for months, and that the children in the community have named him Buttons. Daryl almost gains the horse's trust in order to capture him, but it is spooked and runs away. They later find him, but it is unable to escape a ravenous horde of walkers. Oh yeah, the damn horse does die. Damn, I forgot about that. What is it in The Walking Dead and the horse is dying, man? What the fuck have horses ever done? But he's offered to come with Aaron and Nicholas to fucking look at people and shit, watch them from a distance because he's a pretty good judge of character or whatever. After inviting him to dinner, Aaron takes Daryl to his garage where he has a motorcycle that he has been collecting parts for on his trips outside. He offers the motorcycle to Daryl along with the job. Aaron wants him to help recruit people from the community because he thinks he knows the difference between a good person and a bad person. Daryl, who seems touched by Aaron's confidence in him, accepts the job. And then on patrol, so they made Rick and Michonne constables and shit. It's like little police officers or whatever. After they settle in, Diana assigns each of the members of the group a new job in Alexandria. Along with Rick, she makes Michonne a peacekeeper. Their job functions like a police officer to maintain order and control. Both find it odd that she would give such an important role to people so new to the community, but Dana knows that Rick is a leader no matter what job he is given. Crisis of faith. Yeah, he's like losing faith and shit because, he ain't, Oop, did not mean to hit that. That hurt my hand. Gabriel always felt that Rick's group could not be trusted. He initially saw them as a punishment sent by the Lord for his sins. Already feeling protective of Alexandria, Gabriel is worried that Rick and his group would bring devastation and violence to the peaceful community. What Gabriel doesn't realize is the calm in Alexandria was already in jeopardy, and that Rick and the group would be the only thing to save it. That is true. Sizing up the threat. Carol's making cookies with Sam, and when he asks if he can have a gun for protection, but the gun would not be for himself. When she questions him about it, he runs away. Concerned, Carol goes to Sam's house where his father Pete answers the door. Pete refuses her to speak to Sam or his wife Jessie, and Carol immediately recognizes the abusive relationship as the one herself was forced into to endure. Yeah, she recognized it and she tells Rick about it. And then, Abraham leaves no one behind. Yeah, this is when he was put on the fucking construction team, yeah. In order to expand the walls, Abraham goes with Tobin's construction crew to a nearby mall construction site to obtain supplies. While they are there, walkers attack, and the people of Alexandria, who have very little experience with defending themselves, run and leave Francine behind after she is knocked off her lookout point. Abraham races to fight the walkers to save her, and he was like the only fucking one that did too. And then this was fucked. Like that motherfucker let Noah die, and that shit still pisses me off to this day. Fucking Noah didn't deserve to be killed like that. Fucking like hold the door and shit. Nicholas, Glenn, and Noah were searching for supplies in a solar warehouse when it comes overrun. While fleeing, Nicholas goes out the door, but is forced back in by walkers, while Glenn and Noah are backed into another section of the revolving door. With the dead pushing on all sides of the glass, it is a struggle to maintain anyone's safety, but Nicholas is only worried about himself. And Glenn tried to convince him not to do it. But Glenn watches Noah get eaten alive. Eugene manages to lead some of the walkers who are attacking, and Nicholas sees a chance to escape. Glenn tries to break the glass to save all three of them, but in fear, Nicholas pushes his side of the revolving door so that he alone can escape. A walker is able to bite Noah, and he is slammed back into the glass so that Glenn must watch as Noah is eaten alive. And that was some fucked shit. Glenn crying the whole fucking time because, like, he's watching someone he's come to call a friend just get fucking eaten in front of him. Like, you know how fucked that is? And, like, understandably, he's fucking pissed off. Fucking Gabriel visits Diana to speak to her privately, warning her that Rick and his group have done terrible things. He believes they can't be trusted, and a day will come when Rick's group will put their own lives above theirs and destroy everything she and the rest of the Alexandria have worked hard to build. Neither of them realized Maggie had been listening to every word he had said, and yeah, that causes Maggie to not like Gabriel for a while, but a problem with Pete. Carol tells Rick about the conversation she had with Sam. She is certain Pete is abusing his wife Jessie and possibly Sam as well. As a first step, Rick goes to Diana to talk to about the problem with Pete, but something needs to be done about him. Even though Diana is aware of the situation, she refuses to take action, so Rick takes matters into his own hand, as you should. Shit. Fucking if you got the people who don't want to fucking do nothing about it, and that's their own fucking peoples, I mean, hell, fucking, it's a good thing Rick and them came. But yeah, fight and fucking, they're beating the shit out of each other through a fucking window and shit, and fucking all around just beating the shit out of each other. Unable to get help from Diana, Rick goes to Jessie and convinces her to get away from Pete. At first, she is reluctant to leave her husband and the father of her two children. Even though he has been abusive throughout their lives, he finally persuades her to leave as Pete comes home and confronts them both. Once Pete attacks, Rick has no choice but to finish the fight. And then here's Carl and his little girlfriend Eden. Fuck it, it's so sad Carl died, but yep. They're hiding in a tree. Carl follows Eden, who has snuck out of Alexandria and into the woods. After a time she has spent surviving alone in the new world, she feels more comfortable being outside in the safety of walls. Proven to be creative and avoid interaction with the dead. When a small group of walkers approaches, she leads Carl into a hollowed out tree and reminds him it's their world, we're just living in it. And that is true too. It is technically their world, and they are just living in it. But W. Let's see here. While Daryl, hang on, my foot went to sleep. Oh hell. But while Daryl and Aaron are hunting for supplies and others to join the community, they find a clearing strewn with severed arms and legs. Daryl notes that the carnage is fresh, and the two move forward with caution. A short distance away, they find a woman bound to a tree. She has been left to be eaten alive, and even more ominous is the W that had been carved into her forehead. And then, the W is the wolves and shit. Like, that was like a massive foreshadowing. Like, if I'm correct, I think the wolves had been following Rick and them for a while. Like, they were following Rick and Aaron, and then were following Rick. Which is kind of fucked up if you think about it, but fucking held them the brakes, I guess. But if you don't fight, you die. That is true too. Hell, fucking. And then Michonne knocks him right the fuck out. But just as the fight between Rick and Pete spills into the street, it becomes obvious to onlookers that Rick is close to strangling Pete to death. Deanna screams at him to stop, and he pulls his gun. He chastises the people of Alexandria for not living in the real world and proclaims, if you don't fight, you die, just before Michonne knocks him unconscious. And then, carry a big stick. So this shows, like, Morgan, how he's been chilling and shit. Morgan is alone in the woods, and a man approaches him with a W on his forehead. The stranger chats with Morgan, but is intent on taking everything from him. Morgan would not allow him to take his life, and tries unsuccessfully to convince the wolf just to leave peacefully. With only his bow, Morgan is able to take out his attacker, and the walkers have wandered up during the fight, leaving them injured but alive. I think this is where Morgan re-meets up with Rick. Yeah, I think this is where Morgan comes back. But Pit of Walkers, she just lays in the Pit of Walkers, which is kind of weird. By her own request, Sasha has been in charge of guarding and clearing the outside of the walls of Alexandria. She loads a cart with the bodies of walkers she has killed and takes them to a pit in the woods. As she is tossing in the bodies, she slips and slides into the pit. Unfazed, she lays herself down on top of the rotten walkers and closes her eyes as if she is one with them, foreshadowing that she will be dead eventually. You don't get both. I think that was like they were talking about some. Yeah. Carol visits Rick in his makeshift holding cell after the fight with Pete. She had feigned ignorance and knowing that Rick had a gun, even though she was the one who got it for him. When she hands Rick yet another gun, he says he doesn't want to lie anymore. She mocks him by saying, "You said you don't want to take this you don't want to take this place, and you don't want to lie. Oh, sunshine, you don't get both." Yeah, and that I thought that was funny. So she hands him another fucking gun. But food truck traps. Yeah, this is the wolves and shit. They put like a food truck and they set up a trap and shit. While out looking for people for the community, Aaron and Daryl come upon a fenced-in warehouse and 3 food trucks backed up to the loading dock. They are cautious but excited for the chance to take the trailer full of food back to Alexandria. As soon as Daryl releases a latch, the trap springs and all 3 trucks open to release the horde of walkers stored inside. And then, yeah, wolves not far. They had to hide in one of these fucking cars for a little bit. And then between the dismembered bodies and walkers found in the W's card with the foreheads and the food truck traps that Daryl and Aaron narrowly escape, it is obvious that there is a dangerous group lurking near Alexandria. While walls of the community may have kept them safe from the dead, it seems that they need to defend themselves from the living as well. And because of Eden, the wolves are able to figure out how to get into the fucking Alexandria and shit. But yeah, Nicholas attacks Glenn. Glenn and Nicholas have had a tense relationship since Nicholas lied about the circumstances of Aiden and Noah's death. Nicholas is anxious to eliminate the one person who knows about his cowardice, and he attempts to kill him. Glenn is nearly eaten by walkers in the fight, but overtakes Nicholas instead. He pulls his gun to shoot Nicholas in the head, but decides to be merciful because he's a bitch. But yeah, ready. So here's Gabriel, who he had to be ready to fucking kill. A distressed Gabriel leaves Alexandria, telling Spencer that he is just going for a walk. He wanders the woods, whistling to attract any walkers. When he finds one, he opens his arms and says, "I'm ready." But as the walker moves in, Gabriel had a sudden change of heart and fights to survive. He grabs a noose that is around the walker's neck and pulls it until his head comes completely off. And then after that, he has no problem killing walkers, I think. Yeah, you're not one of us. And then, this is Pete, and he's talking all that shit. And then he cuts, this is Diana's husband. He cuts his fucking throat. During the meeting to decide Rick's fate in the community, Rick appears with the body of a walker that managed to get in through the gate. Rick tells them that they have to be willing to change to survive, and Pete charges in to attack Rick with Michonne's katana. Reg steps in to calm Pete. As Pete struggles and pushes him away, he slices Reg's throat, and everyone watches in horror. And then Diana knew Rick had a gun. She's like, "Do it." She knew he had a fucking gun. While trying to attack Rick, during the meeting, Pete accidentally slashes Reg's throat with Michonne's katana. Diana, who has been against any type of violence within the community until this point, is completely overcome with grief as her husband dies in her arms. She looks up at Rick and says, "Do it." Without a moment of hesitation, Rick turns and shoots Pete in the head. I mean, fucking straight. Didn't even look. Just straight shot that motherfucker in the face. Didn't give a fuck who was there, who was watching. None of that. But that was all base 100 of the cards. So now we move on to the last little, looks like maybe 50-ish cards. Not too many, but just enough. But I think we start off with the locations. So here is Terminus. Terminus began as a peaceful community and a sanctuary for survivors at the apocalypse, but its residents were targeted and overtaken by a group of savages that held them captive and tortured them. After losing many of their community to the oppressors, they regained the control and adopted new principles. So that was card L1. So yeah, location 1, I suppose. Then you have the church, which looks good. St. Sarah's Church is the home of Father Gabriel. After the outbreak, his people came to escape the walkers by coming to church, but he was afraid and kept the church doors locked. He survived in the church while supplies from a canned food drive held before the apocalypse. But once he is forced to scavenge the food outside, he's rescued by Rick and the group. Rick and crew. Grady Memorial Hospital. Oop. Grady Memorial Hospital became home to a group of law enforcement officers after the bombing of the city. While the staff does rescue people, once they are healed, they are forced to work to pay back the resources to save their lives. And for any food they eat, trapping them in eternal revolving debt, or worse, they become the sexual slaves to the officers that are supposed to be protecting them. Yeah, and that's some fucked shit, let me just tell you. So that, like, remember when I told you that one officer that I was glad got killed? Yeah, he was gonna, force Beth into that kind of shit, and fucking, I'm glad that motherfucker got killed. But here we have location Atlanta. And then, yeah, as the capital of Georgia, Atlanta was home to over 5 million people. While the city may have seemed like a safe refuge, the sheer number of people made it a dangerous place to be during the start of the apocalypse. Airstrikes were called in to contain the outbreak, but as Rick finds out later from Dr. Jenner, anyone who dies will reanimate and join the ranks of the Walking Dead. Yeah, he finds that shit out like in damn season 1. And, they didn't... they were confused as shit by that. But Noah's community. So this is where Noah's family, were cut in half and shit. And the Wolves are some crazy fucking people, honestly. But before Noah was trapped and forced into labor at Grady Memorial Hospital, he lived with his parents and twin brothers in a gated resident community north of Atlanta. After Beth's death, the group decides to see if the community was still the safe place that Noah left. When they arrive, they find it has been attacked by wolves, and Noah's family killed in a community overrun by walkers. Yes, the wolves have followed Rick and them for a while. Fucking, they followed them from Atlanta to DC just because they wanted to fucking kill them. And hell, Rick and them didn't even do nothing to them, and they just wanted to fucking kill them just for the hell of it. But here we have Alexandria, and this is Michonne walking around Alexandria. Alexandria was designed and built before the apocalypse to be a completely self-sustainable, upscale community. With the existing supplies and the ability to farm and the huge imposing wall they erected around the community, they had been able to maintain a relatively normal existence compared to people like Rick and all them. Then you have the solar warehouse where, wasn't that where Noah died at? I think so. But, yeah. Several members of the group go to a nearby solar warehouse to find the micro inventors needed to repair the power grid in Alexandria. They quickly find the necessary parts, but also the dead. After Aiden accidentally shoots a grenade at an opposing walker, he is impaled and eventually killed. Tara is also injured, but the hardest loss is Noah, who was trapped and overtaken and evolved. Yeah, yep, that's where he died. So now we have some of the Walker cards. So that's even fucking awesomer, hell, because I didn't know what all was actually in this set. Also, yeah, so we have the character cards and we have the Walker cards. So I think the only things I'm missing from the complete set of Season 5 then is, it'd be the autograph cards and the makeup cards and the wardrobe and shit. I think that's the only shit I'm missing right now. Which, honestly, I'm fine with that because, like I said, I want to get all the base cards and shit and all the inserts and shit, and then I can work on getting all the autographs because, it's probably a handful in each season and shit that they have. So that's going to be a lot of cards. Trust me, I know. But I do want to get them because, I love The Walking Dead so fucking much. And, I don't even know, man. Ever since I started collecting trading cards, I started with Naruto. And then I started I've done, random shit here and there. I've done Pokemon. I've done, different shit here and there. I've done the history of music. I gave those to my friend. Like sometimes trading cards, I buy them just to see what the hell they actually like the McDonald's trading cards. I bought them just because they piqued my interest, and it was like $5, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy the bitches. And I did, and fucking like shit like that. Like I never really thought to look up Walking Dead trading cards. Like I knew they existed, but like for whatever reason, I never thought to be like, hey, I could buy those and collect them and shit, because I've been collecting the Naruto ones and I've got a pretty decent collection of that. And like there's so many other trading cards out there that I've been looking at, like a bunch of different ones that I want to try to eventually find, and all the Walking Dead ones are some of the ones that I want. And then I'll go and try to get the Harry Potter ones and shit like that. But with these though, like this is the inserts and shit, so yeah, the only thing it looks like I'm missing is the autographs, which I'm fine with, because if I can get all the base cards of each season and shit, and then the inserts, then I can go and work on getting the autographs and the wardrobes and shit like that, Once I get enough of them, I can do like an update, and be like, because I'm putting all these into a binder. I'm gonna be real with y'all there. I'm putting all these cards into a binder, starting with season. I'll probably start with season 1, or I'll do the comics first, and then season 1, then 2, shit like that. But anyway, yeah, we have the walkers. I'm sorry, y'all. I ramble a lot. But if you are still here watching this at this, however long this is so far, thank you for listening to me ramble. I do appreciate it. But Rick and Daryl come across walkers whose bodies had melted into the asphalt while searching for the guards from Grady Memorial Hospital. Wait, I guess that way. Walkers, yeah, here's that creepy ass looking walker. That was a fucking cool ass walker, let me tell you what. After escaping Terminus, Rick and Abraham decide that it's time to look for a road, as well as a car to take them north to Washington. Suddenly they hear a cry for help, and at Carl's insistence, rush to find Father Gabriel trapped by a group of walkers. They rescue him from the walkers, including a bearded one that Daryl takes out with his crossbow. Then you have this cool little motherfucker. This motherfucker was like, what? Melted into mud or fucking melted into the road or some shit? I can't remember. Fucking he weird looking. But yeah, as they are trying to capture officers from the hospital in exchange for Beth, Daryl is attacked by one of them in the evacuation zone. The officer gets Daryl in a chokehold and maneuvers him very closely to the face of a snappy walker. Daryl is able to grab the head of the nearby walker and by the eye sockets, ripping it out its skull and spine to smash the officer in the face and free himself. Like that's gotta be some shit right there to get hit by a dude's head. Like, damn, not even like the guy you're fighting, not even his head, just like a random dude's head. Here we have a walker with does she have a W on her forehead? No, she does not. On the drive to Washington, the bus they are traveling in has a mechanical failure, causing Abraham to lose control. Flipping the bus onto its side, nearby walkers heard the commotion and attack. Unbeknownst to the group, it was Eugene who put glass, that's what he put it, he put fucking glass in the fuel tank in order to stop the trip to Washington, forcing him to reveal that he did not have the cure. And like, the second he revealed that, dude, it pissed off Abraham. Abraham knocked him unconscious. And then like they're sitting there deciding what the fuck should they do. So, once they find the fire truck, they're like, yeah, you know what, let's go back and get Rick and all them, because since there is no cure, there's no point for us to be separating and shit. So they go back, and that's when the whole Maggie finding Beth dead and shit happens, and fucking here's some more walkers. I'm gonna be honest with you, I love the walker makeup they put on. Like, it's fucking fantastic. And I love that Greg Nicotero and Robert Kirkman have been walkers in the show. Like, to me, that shit's amazing. Like, like they've been in the show themselves, which is amazing. Like, as a walker and shit. Carol and Daryl search Atlanta looking for the car with the cross that kidnapped Beth, and they spot a white van dangling off the side of an overpass with 2 white crosses on the back. They move in to investigate, but it's not long before some of the herds The hordes of walkers that inhabit the city see them and move in to attack. And then here's another walker. This one, he got like fucked up. You know, his body fucked up. The officer that knocked Sasha into a window and escaped is desperate to free himself from his bound hands and to avoid the approaching walkers. While chasing him down, Rick runs by several walkers, including one that seems to be elongated, with his skin stretched over his body. As Rick hurries by, he slashes the midsection of the walker, allowing his insides to spill freely to the ground. So here you have just a walker chilling. I'm gonna be real. Look, they did a really good job with the makeup. Okay. But the walkers have such singular purpose, and that it's hard to remember that each one was once a person with their own story and their own life. The ones that were trapped in the elementary school had been fighting to break out since Gareth and his group took Bob for dinner. When Gabriel found Bob's leg, those same walkers are still struggling to break free. And yeah, like that's one of the reasons I love The Walking Dead. Like, all these people who are walkers, you know, they all did, in fact, they were people, and they all had a story and shit. And like that's the reason I love The Walking Dead, because like Negan, right? A lot of people hate Negan because, you know, he kills Glenn and Abraham and shit, and fucking, like, all around. I like Negan. I like Negan in the comics. I like Negan in the comics more than I do the show, but I mean, I also like Negan in the show. And like, if the show would have started with Negan instead of Rick, right? We would have followed Negan all the way up through the show and shit, and like our minds would have been like, yeah, Negan is the hero here. Like, he's the good guy. He's the Rick of the story, right? So like, you know, when Rick and them go to attack the saviors and shit, I mean, like, all those people that he was helping, you know, like Negan was helping, hell, they all thought he was the Rick of their group, you know? Because technically he was. So like that's why I love The Walking Dead, because like if you had looked at it from a different perspective of someone else, you would think Rick's the bad guy, you know? But Gabriel reveals that he has scavenged all the nearby locations for food except for the food bank, and he claims it's overrun by walkers. Undeterred, the group goes to the food bank and finds part of the roof had collapsed, allowing rain to pour in through the ceiling. The flooded basement holds not only the food they needed, but also a disgusting, soggy gang of dead walkers. And then here's one he's just chilling, laying down on the grass. But after Noah stole their weapons, Carol and Daryl are unarmed, and they inspect the van for clues about Beth's whereabouts. When the van is overrun, they had no choice but to take refuge inside and buckle up as the van falls over the edge of the overpass. Once it lands, the walkers rain down upon them from the bridge and smash into pieces. And then here's I think this is the group that was following them. I think so. Gabriel snuck. Yeah, this is the one that followed Gabriel. Gabriel snuck out of the safety of the church through the hole in the back room floor to see for himself what the termites had done. At the elementary school, he inspects the area where Bob had been taken and partially consumed, but quickly retreats and the walkers trapped inside break free. He cries for Michonne and Carl let him back inside while begging, "Let me live with it." Yep. And then we move on to the final section, which, is the character cards. Oh, this is awesome. I'm glad I got the character cards too. That's fucking awesome. We have Ricky Dicky Doodog Grimes. Rick has managed to lead the group through every type of horror imaginable and constant attacks from both the dead and the living. He sees the potential for Alexandria to be a safe refuge and permanent home for his family. But knowing the existing members of the community are unprepared for what it takes to defend it, he is determined to change them, to teach them what is necessary to survive, which ultimately he does. Then we got my boy Carl Grimes, capital Coral. Growing up in the new world has often made Carl seem more adaptable than the adults in their ever-changing surroundings. He has shown strength of character when navigating not only Apocalypse but also his teen years and his transitioning relationship with his father. When they arrive in Alexandria, he meets Eden and sparks new emotions for him and a new kind of journey to maneuver. He got him a little crush. But my homegirl Michonne, like, I love Michonne, honestly. Hell, she's one of my favorite fucking characters. Fucking hell, like, I I like Michonne more in the show than I do in the comics. And I like Rick and Carl more. Well, I like Carl in both. I like Rick more in the comics than the show. And Negan, I like him more in the comics as well. And, you know, just like small shit like that. With her warrior attitude and katana on her back, Michonne has been a fierce survivor since the beginning, but she was alone for much of that time and wary of getting lost in the world of the dead. Instead of focus on truly living, she knows the group must find somewhere to create a home and build a new sense of normalcy. We got my boy Daryl Dixon, which he wasn't even supposed to exist. Like, they made the character Daryl Dixon for him. Because Norman Reedus, what was it he said? He auditioned for who the fuck did he audition for? Shit. Was it Shane he auditioned for? See, I can't even fucking remember, but Norman Reedus auditioned for someone else, and they liked him so fucking much they created a character for him. And that's how you got Daryl Dixon, which honestly, I think that's badass as hell. Daryl has always tried to maintain emotional distance from the group, but he is overwhelmed in tears seeing Carol for the first time since the prison was overtaken, and practically shuts down after the death of Beth. He is wary of Alexandria, but some of the encouragement by Carol and the unexpected faith Aaron has in him, Daryl embraces the role of a leader and becomes the protector that he was always meant to be. So now we have Glenn Rhee. And then since Herschel's death, Glenn seems to have taken on the role of the moral compass of the group. While he will do anything to protect those he cares for, especially his loving wife Maggie, he shows compassion for those who may have lost their way. He easily forgives Tara after the prison, and even after Nicholas tries to murder him, Glenn gives him another chance to prove that he can do the right thing. I mean, in Tara's case, though, I mean, he checked her gun and shit, and fucking he realized that she really didn't have nothing to do with that shit, and that she was honest and shit. Like, all she did was kill her sister. That was it. Fucking, which is sad as shit. Like, you know. And that's what I'm saying about how, if you look at it from a different perspective, like, all the people who followed the governor, hell, a lot of them thought he was a good guy. Fucking, and, you know, like, you look at it like that, you really think of it like that. But we have Maggie Green. The optimism that Maggie felt after escaping Terminus and the reunion of the group was shattered by the death of her sister Beth. Upon arriving at Alexandria, they were each assigned jobs, and Maggie worked with Diana to keeping the community running smoothly. After Rick attacked Pete while trying to protect Jesse, she put her conflict resolution skills to work, convincing the community that keeping Rick was on the right thing to do. And then we have Beth Green. Yeah, here's that little fucking lollipop that she was giving and shit, and fucking that creepy ass cop and shit. Still glad he got killed. When Beth awakens at the hospital, it appears that she is being cared for, but it is actually a trap she must escape from. She manages to help her free her friend Noah, and she is recaptured. Once Carol is brought to the hospital, Beth does what she can to help heal her. During the hostage exchange, Don's pride takes over, and she asks for the return of Noah. Rick refuses, and Beth retaliates, and Don shoots and kills her. Tragic. We have Carol Pelliter, or Pilliter, however the fuck you pronounce that shit. Carol's transformation from abused housewife to fierce protector of those she cares for has been hard. After arriving at Alexandria, she had rejected Sam's attempts to bond with her because she is fearful of getting close to another child she could lose, but still finds herself trying to protect him. Then we have my boy Tyrese Williams. Tyrese is a strong but gentle man who struggles with having to kill the living in order to survive. He feels guilt for the repercussions of the choices he has made. After he is bitten and dying, he has a series of hallucinations of those who have died. While the governor, Martin, chastises him for being weak, the others are encouraging him because he doesn't have to be a part of it anymore. Then we have Sasha Williams. Sasha was overjoyed at being reunited with her brother Tyrese at the Terminus, but was developing a close relationship with Bob. After both of them died, she sinks into a deep depression and completely isolates herself. With Maggie's help, she finally begins to find peace. We have my boy Abraham Ford. Fucking love Abraham, honestly. After the death of his wife and children, Abraham had given up on life. He needed a mission, and Eugene came along just at the right time, claiming that he could save the world. Once Eugene confessed that he wasn't a scientist, Abraham struggled with what his purpose in the world will be now. In Alexandria, he finds a job where he is a natural leader in a community to protect. Now we have Tara. Honestly, I fucking love Tara as a character. Like, she, like, fucking, because you would assume Glenn would have killed her, but, like, he didn't. And fucking, hell, I'm glad they didn't, because she's a really good fucking character. And fucking, let's see here, her little story. After they escape Terminus, Tara is forgiven by Rick and Maggie for being with the governor when he attacked the prison. She becomes a beloved member of the group and is a special bond with Eugene, constantly yet consistently encouraging him to find his strength. After a grenade explodes in the warehouse and Tara is injured, Eugene finds his courage and kills walkers and carries Tara to safety. And then Gabriel Stokes. Even though Rick and the group saved Gabriel from being attacked by walkers, he still sees them as a punishment sent by God for his sins for locking out his church congregation at the onset of the outbreak. And then, yeah, that's why he tells them that they can't be trusted. Why does Noah not have a last name? I feel like he should have had one, right? I mean, like, hell, even if they didn't say it in the fucking show, I feel like he should have fucking had a last name. Like, come on, man. Fucking... Yeah, Beth helps Noah escape the hospital, and he becomes a member of the group as he leads them back to rescue her. And after finding his family murdered at, Shirewilt, he quickly embraces the possible life at Alexandria once the group arrives in the community. In the end, he is a victim of Nicholas's selfishness that he is dragged down the revolving doors of the warehouse and horrifically eaten alive. Yeah. I mean, horrifically. Like, hell, like, Eden, I know she got a last name. Like, I mean, I know these are, like, minor side characters and shit, but, like, damn, they could have got some damn last name or something. Like, hell, Pete got a fucking last name, and he was fucking a piece of shit. But fucking, unlike the others in Alexandria, Eden has been on the road, having lost her family and having to fight to survive. She is wary of the sustainability of the community and frequently goes outside the walls where she feels more comfortable. She is cold to Carl at first, but he is persistent. After following her from the woods for a few times, they discover a bond as teenage survivors in the world. Fucking, now we move on to Pete Anderson. Pete may seem like the good doctor, but behind closed doors, he's a violent alcoholic and abusive to his wife, Jessie. Once Rick discovers the truth about the abuse, he asks Diana for help controlling him. When that fails, he takes on Pete in a fistfight and nearly gets Rick kicked out of the community. At the community meeting and decide Rick's fate, Pete lashes out and killing Reg and causing Diana to set Rick loose to settle the score. Now we have Reg Monroe. Reg is a kind, humble man and a supportive husband to Diana. Hey, I'm surprised Diana wasn't a fucking card. Because, hell, she's seen more than Reg is, but, anyway, as a professor of architect, he and his sons designed and built the wall that surrounds Alexandria when they first arrived. He is hopeful for the future of the community and still believes the good people, including Noah, who he wants to mentor. When Pete barges into the meeting and decides Rick's fate, he tries to calm him and his throat is slashed by Pete. And then our last character is Tobin. Tobin is a caring and even-tempered member of Alexandria. He leads the construction crew as they gather materials to expand the walls. Yeah, because he even suggested that Abraham should lead the crew. When they are attacked, he orders the rest of the crew to retreat instead of saving Francine. And Abraham jumps into action to save her. Later, Tobin truthfully recalls the story to Diana, suggesting that Abraham lead the crew instead. So as far as I'm aware, that is all the inserts. It might not be all of them. You know, there might have to be some more that I have to get. But, yeah, we went through this whole damn, what was that, about 100 and almost 50, right? Because we had about 7-8 locations, 7-8 walkers. Yeah, about 140 cards at the most. But, yeah. This has been The Walking Dead Season 5. And I promise y'all, I plan on getting more. I was able to find Season 7, 6, and The Road to Alexandria. And they're all on the way. And, you know, I'm going to find the other ones as well. I promise you that. I'm finding all these. I want all the base cards, and I'm gonna work my way up, getting the autographs and shit like that. Like small things like that. And then, I'm just gonna keep doing it like that. But if there's any type of trading card you want to see me do, because I plan on doing a couple of them. I plan on doing Harry Potter, some more Star Wars, definitely, more Walking Dead, more Naruto, more One Piece, stuff like that. And Gotham, if I can find some, because I know they made some. I just don't know if I'll be able to find them or not. But yeah, I have rambled long enough. I hope y'all have enjoyed going through these season 5 cards with me, and I hope you enjoyed. Y'all be safe and y'all have fun. I will catch you on the next one. See you then.